Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about two of the worst teams from last year and how they fare against the rest of the NFL after the NFL offseason, after all the moves that they made, and then their drafts. I think the two worst teams in the NFL last year were the Jets and Jaguars, undoubtedly. And both teams have made some big impact signings and have drafted some very, very awesome players. You start with the Jets. They drafted Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, just to name a few. Some extremely solid picks for the Jets. Zach Wilson is an extremely talented quarterback coming out of BYU. You have a guy in Elijah Vera Tucker who's going to help protect your guy. I think they're going to keep him. I think they're going to keep him in at guard. I know some places have him, listed as a tackle, but I think he's going to play guard for the Jets, and I think he's a plug-and-play at guard. He's going to be one of the better guards in the league, coming in year one. I think he's that good. And then you have, Elijah Moore, who was a steal in the early first. I thought he was going to go maybe to the Giants or, somewhere else, for the Giants to build on that repertoire of weapons, but they end up picking Kadarius Toney. And then Elijah Moore just falls into their laps, and that was a steal. That was one of the steals of the drafts. And then you have, they drafted a guy in Michael Carter who was, a very strong, fast back. I'm really excited to see Michael Carter. His instincts once he gets to the second level and the third level are insane. He knows where to cut. He's very, very smart running back, and I'm excited to see him put his power and his ability to use in the NFL. So those are some of the players that the New York Jets drafted and their impact players from the draft, and then you go to the free agency side of things. The free agents, they sign a safety / corner in LaMarcus Joyner, who I think can help the defense a bit. You have Corey Davis they signed, who is a decent signing. They signed running back in Tevin Coleman, Tyler Kroft, tight end. He's now a Jets player. You have Keelan Cole, Sheldon Rankins. You have the Jared Davis added to that defense. You got a lot of players added to this team. You have Vinny Curry, who can be a decent player. You have, Dan Freeney is a left guard they brought in, and then one of the more noticeable ones, or the more notable ones within Corey Davis and Carl Lawson, who was a really solid edge rusher for the Bengals for quite some time. Now he's going to come over to the Jets and help that Jets defense out. You already got Quinnen Williams, and you already have some solid pieces on that defensive line. And Carl Lawson is only going to add to that. So I'm excited to see him come in, and make a difference. And that's really it for their free agents. They did sign quite a few people, but you know what? They did re-sign quite a few people as well. But I'm excited to see what the Jets have this year. I think the sky is the limit for them. A young quarterback, a solid offensive line that was built up a bit. You have really good weapons for your guy in Zach Wilson. The run defense was already half decent last year, which got only better with Carl Lawson. I'm really excited to see what this Jets team has. I'm not saying they're going to compete for, a playoff spot this year or a division crown. That's probably for next year and beyond. But, this year I still think they're going to take a step up and, maybe be on the low end or the low tier of the playoff bubble teams. I think, it's possible. But I'm still going to go with the next year. I still think they have another year to develop those young players, see what they got. So, yeah, we'll wait till next year. And this Jets team is looking really good. So now we're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, of course, and Trevor Lawrence, so, and they also made some big-time free agent signings. On defense, I think their best one was on defense in Shaquille Griffin. A very solid cornerback coming over from Seattle who had a really solid year last year. He's going to come in and make a nice duo with C.J. Henderson and Shaquille Griffin. Then you're going to have Trey Herndon and DJ Hayden battling it out for the slot position. So I'm excited to see what they have there and the cornerback group. And then they signed James O'Shaughnessy. Solid tight end coming in, better than what they have. They have the veteran and Marvin Jones to come in and help the young quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. That wide receiver group is, really solid, and his weapons are really solid all around. They took in Rashawn Jenkins, who was a safety who could come in and help a little bit. You have Sidney Jones who could come in and maybe be a difference maker. Philip Dorsett is a fast receiver that Trevor Lawrence may like. You have Carlos Hyde, Dwayne Smoot they brought back, Trey Herndon. I think that's about it. Jihad Ward was one of them, I think. They had some really talented guys come in and really make a difference, and that that are going to make a difference. They have some really solid playmakers coming in. And then you go and look over on the draft side of things. I kind of went to the free agents first because I wasn't really going to talk much about Trevor Lawrence, but it is a video on the Jets and the Jaguars, so I think this team is extremely underrated after this offseason. Trevor Lawrence, they got his teammate in Travis Etienne. I think that was a little early for him. And then you go and take another corner in Tyson Campbell, which I don't really get there because now you have a lot of corners. Tyson Campbell isn't really a slot guy. Maybe you throw C.J. Henderson in there. Maybe you throw Shaquille Griffin in the slot, which I don't think they're really amazing fits in there, but I think C.J. Henderson could maybe play in the slot. And then, so kind of weird there, 3 boundary corners. And then you have the Walker Little, who the other player they drafted in the second round. He's a bit of a raw prospect coming out of Stanford, but, I think he could come out and, maybe make some competition with Cam Robinson and maybe even kicking the guard. You never know, but I think he's going to stay out with tackle. And then they take the boom or bust prospect and Andre Cisco, the safety out of Syracuse. I'm excited to see him come in, maybe make a difference on this defense, And then, round 4, they take Jay Tufele, defensive tackle out of USC. I think he can maybe be a solid pick, and then you have Jordan Smith, defensive end out of UAB, is going to come in and create some competition. You have Luke Farrell, which I don't think was a solid. I don't think that was a good pick in the 5th round. It is a 5th round. You're not going to get anything crazy here, but you never really know. And you want to get a player that's going to come in and compete, maybe even start, maybe be a rotational piece. But Luke Farrell, I think this is more of a favoritism pick by Josh Meyer. He's from Ohio State, so he's got that connection. Luke Farrell is more of a blocking tight end, not really a receiving guy, so we'll have to see him develop in that aspect of his game. You go around 6 from the Rams. You have the Jalen Camp. He's a wide receiver out of Georgia Tech. From Georgia Tech, he's very smart. That means, Georgia Tech is one of the harder schools to get into in the country, and that means he's got to be smart and he's got to know how to traverse defenses. He probably has some good instincts and knows defenses really well. So both of these teams, and the Jets and the Jaguars, have had really solid off seasons. You start with the Jets once again. Carl Lawson. They had some big time free agent signings. I think they're going to be a decent team. I guess we'll see how Zach Wilson comes along. I think that offense is going to be decent with all the weapons he has. And then you go over to the defensive side of things for the Jets. They have a solid defense. They need to work on corner a little bit, but I think they're getting somewhere. The defensive line is really solid. And then you have that offense like we were talking about. The offense is going to be really good. And then the Jaguars are actually, even coming from a Colts fan, are a sleeper to win the AFC South this year. I don't know if they will. As a Colts fan, it's hard to say that they're going to win over the Colts, but it's very possible. If you look at their offense alone is going to allow them to compete for the AFC South, and they have those really solid corners and Henderson and Shaquille Griffin coming over. They drafted a lot of solid defensive players and they signed a lot of defensive players. Then they signed some extremely solid offensive players to come in and help Trevor Lawrence a bit. I think this Jaguars team is set up to have a really solid year this year. If the Colts win that division, I think they're going to be second, and then the Titans maybe third. But if the Colts lose, I don't know if I could see the Colts being worse than the second, because they just have a complete roster. But it's as high as possible for us to finish third behind the Jacksonville Jaguars, because the Jaguars really have that potential this year, and they really could possibly win the division. I think their offense is lethal. Their offense can really get the job done, and I'm really excited to see what they have in store. They might surprise people and win the AFC South. They're the dark horse to win the AFC South. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if fellow Colts fans are going to say, they're not going nowhere. they're going places this year. You know, as long as Trevor Lawrence is coming out and going to be as good as everyone was saying his first year, or he's going to be, you know, somewhat of that, you know, a good percentage of that, you know, he's still going to be a threat to win the AFC South. The Jaguars are going to be a threat. You know, on the other hand, the Bills or the Jets, I don't really think they have the ability to pull off, you know, a division crown over in the East. You know, they have the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. All three teams are kind of loaded right now. So, you know, they're still a young and upcoming team. You know, but the Jaguars are still really young too. So, you know, having all that youth, but they do have a good amount of veterans sprinkled in there. And that's a really good key to success. You know, you want that young, talented roster. But you also got to realize that you need some veterans in there to help them, coach them along the way, and keep them in stride, and keep them in, you know, to keep them in check and help them out a bit. You know, it all depends. You know, it all depends on how this young teams, on how both of these young teams perform. You know, are the Jaguars too young? Maybe. But you know, I don't think so. I think the Jaguars are going to compete. You know, and then are the Jets too young? Because the Jets are starting to get a bit younger. They're also going to have their guy in C.J. Mosley coming back, so that's going to be a big plus. You know, who is an amazing linebacker. Just watch out for these two teams, more so the Jaguars. You know, I don't think the Jets are ready to go out and compete. You know, I'd say maybe low tier bubble playoff team, but you know, I'm going to put Jaguars in the high end of the bubble playoff teams because of their offense and in addition to the defense. You know, yeah, every year we see teams that look really good on paper, but when they step on that field, they're a different team. So we do have to wait to see how they perform on the field in real game time, because that's what's going to matter most. That's when it's going to really prove it and show it. So we got to wait till then. But you know, on paper, this Jacksonville Jaguars team is, you know, a really solid team, and it is a dark horse to win the AFC South. It's not just between the Colts and the Titans. It's between the Colts, the Titans, and the Jaguars. You know, not really the Texans. You know, the Texans, they really, you know, they're just in a big hole right now. They're in rebuilding mode, to say it nicely. Yeah, I'm really excited about these two young and upcoming teams. I'm really excited to see the Jaguars. You know, I want to see Trevor Lawrence come in and be a beast. You know, I honestly really don't, because I'm a Colts fan. I'd be scared of that. But at the same time, you know, I want to see a young player come in and have an awesome career and have, you know, an awesome year, an awesome rookie campaign. I'd also like to see Zach Wilson coming in and have an awesome rookie campaign. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think these two teams are ready to go to the playoffs? I think the Jaguars are. I think the Jaguars are a dark horse to really, you know, get to the playoffs. I really think they are. Jets more so, I don't think so, because, you know, maybe the Jaguars don't make it just because of how crowded the AFC is. You know, if you don't win a division, it's going to be really tough to make it. So, you know, you really want to win that division this year, whoever you are, because the AFC is really crowded. You know, you have a lot of young and upcoming teams who are a little ahead of the Jaguars and the Jets. You know, so I don't know about the Jaguars actually going to the playoffs yet, but they very well could. The Jets, I don't really think so. I don't think the Jets really have a shot. You know, even though any team every year has a shot. You know, I just think the Jaguars are a little more ahead in talent and, you know, youth, and, you know, I really think the Jaguars are going to be a little better than the Jets. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think these teams are ready to compete? What do you think of their off seasons? Who had the better off season? Do you think the Jets had the better one? Do you think the Jaguars had the better one? I'm going to personally say the Jaguars. But, you know, you guys let me know in the comment section. Love talking to you guys in the comment section. If you made it to the end, you know, thank you so much for watching this video, and I appreciate you for watching. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you next time.